I feel embarrassed and the shame as a man that we are responsible for this. There's no getting around that.
Ben.
Ashani.
Welcome to But Are You Happy? I am very excited for this conversation. I feel like there is a lot to be unpacked in today's episode, but I feel like before we get into everything and unpack the landscape of masculinity, the rise of the manosphere, I actually want to start off by getting to know you and our listeners to get to know you. So the question I have is, what was your perspective on masculinity growing up?
Wow, what a way to start. Just drop straight into
Let's go.
Masculinity. In all honesty, I think my early experiences of masculinity, manhood were role models of what not to do. Like if I really think about it now, I can sit back and reflect and know like my dad was probably the closest man in my life. He was around consistently until I was about 11 or 12 and he did his best. You know, I've got hindsight now, but he was quick to temper. He was pretty quick to anger, really struggled to manage his emotions, and that would come out in different ways and sort of some unhealthy behaviours. But also there were some good things, particularly the kind of more traditional forms of masculinity around provider, protector. He was really courageous and really strong and really present in those ways. Really good with sports. But yeah, in the more sort of modern concepts of masculinity, the things that we're trying to expand on, not so great. I think later on in life, I've been married twice, hopefully not a third time. But in my first marriage, my father-in-law was definitely like the masculine archetype that I've aspired to be. Really clever, witty. He was an old school artist. He used to draw the houses in the real estate section. In the newspapers. Yeah, before they took photos.
That used to be a thing.
Yeah, they used to be a thing. Clever, witty, into politics, current affairs, but also like rides his Harley, has his cars, could sit down and have a nice glass of red and have like a really interesting conversation. But the thing that I learned from him was that he just loved his wife. My ex-mother-in-law, who I'm still close with both of them, they're just like a loving bond and like their beautiful relationship was something that I could learn from. So a bit of like what not to do and then a little bit of like what to do and then trying to form my own. Yeah,
wow. So it's really amazing just to hear from all of those moments how you could see the depth and breadth of masculinity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's how we learn, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just lucky there was like no digital age. Like
I know,
TVs, magazines, yes, but like I'm so glad I did not have social media that young.
Yeah, it's a different time we're living in. And do you feel like, I know you kind of spoke a bit around the role models in your life, the things that you loved and probably you didn't want to take on board, but was there a specific moment in your life where you felt like you realized that young men were really struggling emotionally?
Yes, I think I had my own struggles in my early years. So if I reflect back on my own kind of teenagehood journey into young manhood, there was a lot of stuff going on. So my mum passed when I was 16 and sort of went through my own challenges of feeling depressed and anxious and kind of where do I fit in the world? So I had my own personal experience. But about 10 years later, after I started as a youth worker and then was working in kind of social impact and having run social services, I was like, hold on a second. Like we've got a pretty big issue in our hands. Men's mental health, men's identity is a really big challenge that's showing up in the deficit-based outcome. So I've worked in family violence, I've worked in homelessness, I've worked in addiction, and I'm like, hold on, we have a challenge on our hands that we're really not addressing. So I think in my sort of mid to late 20s is when I started to investigate and get a bit curious about it, start to really lean on my mates and start to ask them about their experiences. But over the last couple of years, I think with my work at the Man Cave, it's become really obvious that we have some big challenges ahead of us.
Yeah. And actually, leads me to my next question, because I think the state of masculinity, there's a lot going on. And, you know, the rise of the manosphere is obviously a very hot topic in media at the moment. So for those that are tuning in right now and have heard bits and pieces about the manosphere but don't actually know what it is, Can you unpack what is the Manosphere?
But Are You Happy is like that brutally honest friend whose advice you'll actually want to take. This season, we explore the psychology of perfectionism, how you can stop taking things so personally, and why group chats can feel so draining, plus what you can do about it. Our friends at Medibank understand that connection matters, especially during challenging times. That's why they've created the Medibank Family Roast, a card game designed to get families actually talking and connecting with each other. Because when family bonds are stronger, Australia is stronger. So get together and play the Medibank Family Roast. Search Medibank Family Roast. Live better with Medibank.
Can you unpack what is the Manosphere?
I feel like there's people way more qualified than me, but the Manosphere is the perfect shitstorm. It's I had to explain actually to my auntie the other day. I really wanted her to watch the Louis Theroux documentary.
Yeah.
And I was like, watch it. And she's like, what is it? Is it like one of those apps like Facebook? And I was like, okay, sit down, Auntie Kath.
This is going to take more than 5 minutes.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is a network of just really harmful, unhealthy content disguised in entertainment or healthy advice for particularly teenage boys and young men. But the Manosphere itself is constantly evolving. So what was like a focus on Andrew Tate kind of telling people to like be dominant, be aggressive, take control, women want to be controlled and dominated, has kind of really taken off kind of like a bushfire. And now there's so many layers and complexities and nuances and different trends and algorithms. And what it actually is a bunch of unhealed, immature men in teenage boys in men's bodies spouting content that is clear and concise messaging that they know will cut through the algorithm, get jacked, get ripped, get a girl, take control. It's honestly, it's insanity. The challenge that we have with the Manosphere is it's a business model.
Yeah.
So we're starting to expose the fact that these influencers, content creators, manfluencers, I like to call them, are actually selling subscriptions to their online entrepreneurial college, or they're selling peptides or testosterone or whatever, PT and online gym sessions. And they're using the naivety, but also perhaps the vulnerabilities of teenagers and young men to come and arrive at really clear and concise messaging, which they're attracted to because it's simple, but it's super harmful, super unhealthy. It's on every single platform. It's on every single app. There's content creators from around the world. It's pretty scary stuff, actually.
Yeah. And I mean, kind of speaking to the harmful effects, like what do you feel are the most dangerous ideas that young men are absorbing from the Manosphere?
Yeah, I think there's two things are kind of live for me in that. The first is the young men consuming the content. I'm going to cop a little bit for just being so direct about how terrible the Manosphere is. There's lots of people trying to justify it and say that it's good advice. No. The first bit is it's harming young men who are consuming the content. A lot of the young men that I've worked with and that the Man Cave supports are asking questions or trying to discover things online like how do I make money and get rich? How do I get a great job and not have to work 9 to 5? Or how do I ask a girl out? How do I get a girl to kiss me? They're kind of like natural, naive kind of questions seeking advice, or they're liking and engaging with content, which then very quickly escalates into harmful content. And that's the gateway that we need to keep an eye on, because young men are then consuming all of this stuff where a guy's rocking around in a Lamborghini and his big muscles and I live in Miami and I'm like, yeah, dude, I believe in one-way monogamy. Like that's not, one-way monogamy is not a thing. Like unless you sign up for it and it's consensual, fantastic. But all of this stuff, these boys are like, this is real. And it's not. It's all a facade. Those mansions are rented. You know, they're paying for that rent with a subscription that you buy from their entrepreneurial college. So there's the young men that are being harmed because it's not attainable. And they're being harmed in a mental health sense, thinking that this is a way to feel better, get better, but actually it's not healthy content. It's not good advice.
Well, it's like a false narrative.
Correct.
Yeah,
you've got much better language than I do. What I wanted to say was it's really much like a false narrative. Some of it's good though, like some advice out there. This is the thing about the Manosphere is there's small pieces that get attributed to the Manosphere that's not, like good advice around like building a career or getting a trade or starting a business or asking respectfully, how do I ask a girl out? What does consent mean? These are all good things. But young men, mental health, not great. but also they are impacting the second cohort that I really want to focus on, which is particularly young women and girls.
Yeah.
Also queer people and people from sort of minority populations, particularly here in Australia, the multicultural community.
Yeah.
But the impact on women and girls is super concerning because young man observes, takes behaviour, where does the impact land?
Totally.
Women and girls.
Yep.
That's super concerning for everyone. The challenge that we have is that like there's this like conflation between men's accountability and consequences and the impact on women. Both can be true at the same time. But I'm really concerned about the women and girls because what I'm noticing is particularly online, this increased subscription or adherence to what the boys and men are saying. This trad wife concept or the man should go out and work and provide for the woman and the woman should stay home. Again, if that's your consensual decision as a partnership, great, but it's actually not. Because what we're seeing is sexual assault. What we're seeing is sexual violence. What we're seeing is aggression. What we're seeing is dominance. And it's not healthy for anyone.
I think since the Manosphere has been getting a lot more attention, it's really easy to focus on the young boys, but also we forget to also focus on the young women who are actually kind of in the shadows of these conversations. So it's really great that we're having these conversations now to really bring to light if we really want gender equality, but we've got to equally look at what's happening in these spaces. So,
well, if I can say just one thing that's super important is that the Manosphere is saying all of the challenges of men and boys. So there are, and it's true and there's valid, boys' performance in school is behind girls. There's challenges around boys' graduation from university or TAFE or whatever. There are challenges out there. But what the Manosphere is feeding the boys is it's the fault of feminism. So women rising is to the detriment of men, and that's not true.
Totally.
Women rising lifts everyone up, just like if we help boys, it lifts everyone up. So we really have to make sure we make the distinction that this is not the fault of feminism. Feminism is coming from a long way back. Remember when like women literally couldn't vote, like couldn't get a loan, were treated so terribly for so long, and they're rising. And then there's this Manosphere being like, blame it on the women. Like, come on, we've got to like cut through. That's not true.
Totally. A lot of critical thinking that needs to be had and a lot of conversations to be had because I think a lot of these gendered conversations can be had in siloed and that's where I think a lot of the misunderstanding happens. Whereas, you know, I listened to a podcast recently where someone was talking about how someone stepped out of the Manosphere and the way that he stepped out of it was because he actually just had a chat with a woman. And it was so interesting because that just goes to show the illusions, the stories, the wounds we keep ourselves trapped in and we're not able to step more into the expansion of possibility. And also the thing that stands out for me, having had a number of conversations with people that have kind of escaped the Manosphere, rehabilitated from the Manosphere, based on the hard labour of women, again, women identifying that might not be healthy, women identifying that that's probably not a good thing to think, feel, behave or act or the right person to be consuming content from. So we also have to be conscious that like, once again, we're calling on women to do the hard work for men to actually be thinking critically about the content that they see. The interesting thing that I want to mark about the Manosphere is that there is so much conjecture in the community about the Manosphere because an older cohort of men are actually subscribing and adhering to what the Manosphere is saying. What do you mean by conjecture?
Well, there's this kind of like men are pushing back that the Manosphere isn't all bad.
Interesting.
Lots of conversations I'm involved in where men are saying the Manosphere is not a bad thing. It's not all bad, not all men.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that. Oh my God, there's like so much to
unpack.
Many threads. There's so many threads.
We could be here for a few hours.
I want to read something out and I'm keen to get your thoughts on it. So around 58 women were killed by violence across Australia in 2025, mainly perpetrated by men. How do you feel when you hear statistics like that?
Yeah, it's hard to have words, but we must. The number of women and children that are dying at the hands of men is an absolute crisis, and it should be treated as such. It makes me feel disgusted. It makes me feel shameful, embarrassed, sad, angry, all of the emotions. I'm from Melbourne, so I've seen the mural on Hosier Lane. I think it's Sherelle Moody from the
I haven't
Femicide
seen
Watch was collating pictures of women that have been killed at the hands of men. And unfortunately, it had been taken down recently, but I've seen it. And I work in a space that is promoting gender equity and healthy masculinities and how that connects to the empowerment of women and girls. It makes me feel terribly sad. I feel like we're not moving fast enough. I feel like we're not working at all ends of the spectrum. So if we think about actually really ending gendered violence and doing it as quickly as we possibly can, we need prevention, we need early intervention, we need crisis and response, healing and recovery. None of those 4 quadrants of the spectrum are well funded enough. And there's not enough or sufficient policy from all levels of government to intervene. So there can be a feeling of despair, but also there's hope out there. Like the women's organisations, the feminist-led organisations, particularly in the intervention, crisis response, healing and recovery, are doing phenomenal work on the smell of an oily rag. I must say the federal government has put such a significant investment, the biggest investment in ending gender violence and family violence. So there is hope coming. It's just not moving as fast as I would. I have so many mixed emotions. I think about this constantly. It's a sad state of affairs. And if it was a physical condition, if it was a cancer, if it was a medical diagnosis, we'd be moving so much quicker than what we are. But I also don't want to devalue the work of the amazing people out there, the practitioners, the researchers, the leaders, the CEOs, the activists, the advocates. They're doing a phenomenal amount of work. This is our window.
And it's really beautiful to hear your vulnerability in that as well. And there's some like strong emotions there too. But also I'm really intrigued when you say shame and embarrassment. Are you able to unpack that a little bit more?
Yeah, I feel embarrassed and the shame as a man that we are responsible for this. There's no getting around that. And the bit that is embarrassing is someone at some point in time is going to listen or hear about this podcast and shitpost a comment that says, what about women's violence against men? Not all men. You know, there's still that school of thinking. I know we can't reach all the edges of society, but I talk to a lot of men. I spend a lot of time not in ivory towers, out in community, chatting to people. And I just feel a bit shameful and embarrassed, and that's just my own guilt, I suppose. But also I have a 16-year-old daughter, you know, and I know that over her lifetime it is very, very likely that she will experience some level of violence. And that really scares me. That really scares me.
Yeah, that's a hard one to sit with.
Yeah.
I feel a bit emotional.
Yeah, same.
I just need to take some water. Yeah.
Do it. It's so difficult. I don't think we sit in like the vulnerable spaces enough. And I'm not the expert on this, but and I don't want to be ScoMo, as like my wife and my daughter said, but it's like when I visualize that, I visualize my daughter.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's hard. And I visualize my ex-wife and my sisters and my niece, and I'm like, it's like that's their reality.
Yeah.
They live a different life.
Yeah.
I feel a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of the fear bit being queer. When I was coming out, being a bit scared of what people would feel and judge, and maybe feeling not so safe walking around Chapel Street at nighttime. There's a tiny piece of me that's felt it, but not this much. You know, like I actively will not let my daughter go out on her own at nighttime at 16. It's just not happening.
Yeah, there's so many other layers you've got to think about as a woman. And I think it's somewhat refreshing and healing to hear how much you get that as well. I think so often, like I think when you were talking about, you mentioned not all men and how like that's a phrase that does come up, and it gets me thinking like, are men just using those words to avoid responsibility for a broader cultural issue that's going on?
Well, there's a shift in power, right? There's a real shift in power happening across the world. And I am surrounded by so many wonderful men, brilliant, beautiful, just clever men who get it and who understand that the rise of women is a really good thing for all of us. The rise in gender equity is a really good thing for all of us, but it also requires change. The way that our fathers parented us and their fathers parented them needs to evolve.
Yeah.
But evolution is a good thing. We shouldn't be resisting it.
Totally.
Even the fact that my 16-year-old daughter is pushing back with independence and wants to go out and puts all of the safety mechanisms in place, that doesn't stop me feeling super protective of her.
Yeah.
But then I need to sit with that and unpack that and be like, you know, why is it that I'm feeling like that? I need to give her some trust. I need to let her be her own person.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different mixed emotions, but men need to sit in discomfort.
Yeah.
We need to sit in shitty feelings and understand it without reacting, without getting angry and just being like, what does this mean for me? What does it mean for the people around me? Why am I feeling this?
Yeah.
There is a structural systemic move, but it is going to be hard fought and take some time.
Yeah. And do you feel like as well, I don't know if you noticed there was an online trend around the bear or man.
Yes.
As well. And just for context for listeners, women were asked, like, if you had to be alone in the forest, would you choose a man or a bear? And a lot of them chose a bear. Yeah, I'm keen to hear, like, what are your thoughts on that? Because obviously this is like reinforcing the gender-based violence that currently exists in the world.
So very recently there's been a discovery, I think by CNBC, that there was a particular website that was promoting, it was a place where mainly men could come together, share actual real life footage or tips and tricks on how to sexually assault and rape women. And there was something like 62 million visitors. Beneath it was about 1,000 active users of a Telegram group sharing different resources on sleep sex, they would call it. So if we kind of just zoom back out and think about why women would choose the bear over men, a very, very beautiful friend of mine, she's a clinical midwife educator. She's got 2 beautiful children, posted about this on her social media. Yeah. And then the next story was, this is why we choose the bear. I also get how it distances men from the conversation, but it distances men who are not prepared to learn and understand where women are coming from. Women aren't saying not all men are bad. What they're saying is all men have a responsibility to play. Yeah. They need to be accountable for not just their behavior, but the men around them.
Yeah.
And when I see it, I go, you know what? I understand. Yeah. I get it. It's just treated so much like this gender equity piece and men and women, all genders. It's being treated like a zero-sum game. Like if we help men, women lose. If we help women, men lose. Like, where's the moderate middle where we all rise? We all win. Yeah. We're all not. Yeah, we're going to have to make some adjustments and change and maybe sacrifice. But everyone can win? Yeah. Like, is that not what humanity is supposed to be about?
It sounds really simple, right? You're like, wait, why?
I know, I'm oversimplifying.
Why aren't we there yet?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. But,
well, you know why we're not there.
Well, yeah, there's so many complexities to that, right?
Men are holding on to power.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Like, insert Donald Trump.
So there's misogynistic figures like Andrew Tate that often argue that a woman's worth is tied exclusively to her physical appearance, youth, and capacity for obedience. Do the young men you work with believe this?
Yeah, I think like a very small percentage of boys and young men that we're working with will talk about it. So I can't give you a hard, fast statistic about who believes it. Yeah. But I think because we create a safe space. Yeah. And what does that actually mean? That actually means about holding a space where boys feel comfortable to lean into the messy, sometimes politically incorrect conversations. Yeah. And that's not colluding with them. It's about creating an opportunity to ask why and figuring out what's live for them, because a lot of adults in young boys and young men's lives will immediately go into course correct, judgment mode. Yes. And yes, to consequences, accountability, not justifying that. But what boys often need is a bit of curiosity. Yeah. One of the strategies we have at the Man Cave is like the 6 whys. Like how many times do you have to ask why for them to really question what they're saying?
Like you keep digging.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's layers. There's a chunk of boys that parrot. Yeah. They're the pirate's parrot, you know, that just repeat what they've heard. Yeah. Let's be honest. We've heard reports of boys telling female teachers, get back in the kitchen. Yeah. Again, that is not, I'm not seeing that like, you know, across a large percentage of schools or boys that we work with, but teachers are reporting that experience. So that is true. There's a number of boys just in the middle confused being like, we don't actually know what is like good and bad content. We're just being entertained.
Right.
Like is looks maxing really a thing, or are we just laughing at it? But for a small percentage of boys, they believe it. They believe that they need to, look chiseled and look amazing to attract females into their life.
Right.
And then there's a small percentage at the top that I'm really concerned about. And they're not telling you. They're not talking to us. They're not talking to you. They're difficult to engage with, and they're disconnected and withdrawn. They may show up physically. They may show up with presence, but they're not talking about it. Let's be honest, that those boys are locked into the manosphere, and we need to do more work to reach them.
Yeah. I mean, and because there's so many layers to it too, because I know obviously with the work with the Flourish Journey, working in schools with teenage girls, and the things that we're hearing because of the impact of the manosphere is that, girls are feeling really scared, like I always get emotional when I talk about teenage girls. They're feeling really scared and they're feeling really unsafe, and they're noticing changes in boys where, like they see the difference when they have a male friend on his own to when he's in a group of friends, like he can change. And like, that's a lot. And I think it's really hard because not only that, but you've got figures like the misogynistic figures like Andrew Tate that are telling girls like, oh, women need to look good. And that's like further perpetuating the problem with body image issues. So it's like no one wins, and girls are really struggling. And I think it's a hard one to sit with, but it's also really interesting to hear kind of the spectrum of what boys are saying, because like, how did they view women when you do talk about young women in workshops?
Yeah, this is the hope. So a vast majority of boys who come to our workshops or programs, we run a variety of different experiences like the Flourish Journey. We've shared those different types of experiences, but boys will often talk, like we run the old Richmond Footy Club model of, it's called Triple H. You get three chairs at the front, hero, hardship, highlight. And a large percentage of the times for the boys, it's about a woman in their life, mum, grandma, sister, aunt, friend, where they're sharing these stories, whether they've faced a hardship or someone's sick or someone that's unfortunately passed away. But a lot of the time the hero or the highlight is about how their mum hypes them up or supports them or takes care of them. So in the workshops, there is hope.
Yeah.
A vast majority of the boys that we work with talk about girls and women in a really healthy way. Now, we're not there when the banter's going on. So we try and do, like we have these activities where we talk about in and out of bounds, like what is in bounds, what is out of bounds, and we throw up some examples without judgment. And then our facilitators guide them through different ways. So something, if a little comment or conversation sparks in one of our programs and we feel like it's crossing a boundary, it might be sexist, misogynist, homophobic, we sort of deep dive into that and we facilitate around the room to get some group think and group agreement on would that be okay if this particular comment was made about your mum who you just shared a hardship about? Like, let's get really honest about this. Is that really appropriate? So we're kind of policing a little bit. But the interesting thing with boys is they do police each other. And they're policing each other around what's acceptable. And you've got to be really conscious that sometimes they police each other about what could be soft, and it could be tender, but they're calling that weak. So we need to make sure we're reframing that into actually vulnerability is a strength.
And how do boys receive that in the sense of, because in a way you're kind of challenging their potential points of views on the way that they see the world, the way they see women, how they, what success is. Like, how receptive are they to those kind of challenging sticky points?
I think, it depends on the boy, their environment. Let's be honest, we don't know really a great deal about what the boy's bringing into the space when we first meet them. So we know that a lot of boys are also victim survivors. A lot of boys are experiencing a lot of challenges, and we talk about that a lot. But most boys are open, they're curious, they're looking around, but they are checking with their mates. Or they're looking down.
Am I still good?
Yes, that's right.
Interesting.
So when we do the heartfelt shares and we do some check-ins around the room, it only takes one boy to open up about what's actually going on in his life. And then you see the others jump in and want to support. What we are trying to do is make sure that that's longitudinal. So it's not just a one-day workshop or program. We're having 3, 4, 5, 6 exposures throughout the year, throughout their whole teenage journey to let it land and stick. But the big work we have to do in the work of men and boys is listen to the experiences of women and girls and the queer kids as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're like linking in and connecting with organizations like the Flourish and being like, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing? How do we share data and insights? What's happening? Because we could go in and...
Which is so important.
So important.
We could be just dancing to a different rhythm that we're like,
different.
The song's off, guys.
Yes, that's right.
Dancing to the wrong song.
And there's arguments about the gendered work, but what I feel is like with a lot of the times you go to the school and you'll have the boys group and the girls group and the non-binary or queer kids will choose where they want to land or what they want to do. And then we're thinking, so when they all come back together, how do we connect this up? Yeah. That's the next bit of work that we really need to focus on.
Yeah, totally. I guess my question and observation I'm noticing is that there is a growing sense of frustration amongst teenage girls and women towards men, and many are feeling disheartened about the misogynistic views or opinions, behaviours that they might be seeing online to personal relationships they have. So what do men need to change in order to create more equitable, respectful, supportive relationships with women?
I think that we need to be... do you think that... Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, but I want you to answer this one too.
I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer it. Do you think that there's like an innate sense within us as humans that we kind of know what's right and wrong?
Depends who the human is.
Yeah, it's a challenging one, but I reckon we kind of know. I reckon that when it comes to relationships, boundaries, particularly the way that we treat other people, I reckon you know. I reckon it's in here. It's in here.
Like that intuition.
There's a the reason why I ask that question is because I do believe that there's an innate sense of like generally what's right and what's wrong. Yeah. There's extremities, there's political views, but when it comes down to fundamental humanity, I reckon we know. Like we don't kill each other. Yeah. We shouldn't treat each other poorly. Start by seeing women as equal.
Yeah, nice.
Like that would be a really good start. Be courageous and call the shit out. Like call it out. It doesn't have to always be confrontational. Find the language to call your mates out and then call them in. So you can call someone out for saying something, doing something, or you're seeing something concerning, and you call them in and be like, "What? Like, why would you say that, mate? Or that didn't land for me, mate? Or that's not right, mate." You know, there's a simple way of calling it out, and then calling them back in and be like, "Why did you say that, mate?" It doesn't have to be in front of everyone. So I think a bit of courage in being able to sort of advocate. And not thinking you're like, you don't have to be an activist, gender equity warrior out there. It's micro changes in your sphere of influence. Be conscious of your environment. You know, be conscious of what's going on around you and think deeply about your relationships. So I think courage to call it out, courage to call it in, educate yourself. Like there are resources out there. There are so many different people. There's this podcast you could be listening to. We're on it right now. Listen to this.
You're in the right place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just think there's an opportunity for men to really lean in and not see this as being detracted from, but this is working for all of us. This is lifting everyone up. And it shouldn't come down to just women's safety. You know, it's not that, you know, women shouldn't be catcalled or women shouldn't be harassed. That's like a baseline stuff. That's like the bare minimum. I'm talking about how do you divvy up the workload? Do you have active and progressive conversations about how you manage the income in your household? You know, like do you actually talk about the responsibilities in your house and how you kind of weight the value of different things? It's okay for someone to earn more and someone to care more, or someone to clean more and someone to cook more. Those things are okay as long as you're having conscious conversations about it and it's an agreement and it's revisited. Those things are okay. Then the next level is, okay, so once we've made those agreements, it's okay for the woman to earn more. It's okay for the man to care more. Totally. It's okay for the woman to cook more and the man to clean more. So these rigid masculine stereotypes that we've been conditioned to believe they're okay are our responsibility to change. Just because we've had the environmental conditioning or the conditioning of the world to believe we should be a certain way, it is our responsibility to make the change as individuals, and it is the decision makers, the policy wonks and the politicians and the big systems thinkers to make systemic change. Yeah, definitely. We have to have both together. Yeah, and I think it's really great. I think I really loved just like the practicalness of calling people in, because I think what can happen often is like banter culture is a big thing, I think, amongst boys, teenager culture. And I think it's so easy for a slight little comment to
actually have there's a lot underneath that joke, right? And it's like that feeling of, oh, am I going to be a buzzkill if I call this in or let that person know that wasn't okay? Because I find in a way there's kind of like a spectrum of misogyny. Like you obviously got the extremists with, in the manosphere, but there's also, I find, and what I've experienced and witnessed is like the subtleties of misogyny, like that little comment or the energy, or there's like those little things that I think need to be picked up as well, because those little things can end up, like you talked about micro moments, those micro moments can add up and then it actually can be quite harmful without even realizing.
Yes, but it's easy to let them go.
Totally.
Right? Like that's where the courage comes in.
Yeah.
Is like
the small moments.
It's actually easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to ignore that and forget about it and not say anything and put my head down and move on.
Yeah.
Or worse, have a giggle and laugh.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it takes courage. And it doesn't just, for a lot of us, it doesn't arrive, you build up over time.
Yeah.
I think now at the ripe old age of 40, I feel courageous enough that if I see something I disagree with and I know that fundamentally is not right, I'm going to call it out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do my best to call it back in. So there doesn't have to be the big confrontation or be scared of the aggression. But I'm prepared to call it out. Yeah. Was I always? No.
Yeah.
But, I've been in some really sort of heteronormative, hyper-masculine environments that I was like, this is not a safe thing for me to do. But now at 40, I'm like, I'm going to take the risk.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got the language and I've got the ability to, assess the risk of the situation. But if I see it, I'm calling it out because you are the behaviour you walk by.
Yeah, totally.
You are the values that you witness.
Yeah, so true.
Super important.
Yeah. And in terms of like that situation, because I think that's really relatable, because I'm sure some people might be tuning in and being like, oh, well, that's so great that you've been able to get through that risky nature. But for those that might be on the edge, they're like, oh, I think I might feel unsafe in this. Like, what do you advise? Do you just let it go? Because there's a bit of that bystander effect that can happen, right?
Yes, this is challenging because there's a risk that you give people advice that they're not able to deliver on, and then that creates shame and embarrassment for them. So I think that as an active bystander, using positive language in a confrontation can be difficult to think about, but challenge yourself to think about it. And what I mean by that, I'll give you a really practical example. So a mate says something to another mate and it's all the mates, everyone's on the piss. It's one of those environments. I'm like, mate, like that. Nah, that didn't land for me. It's all right. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the moment so everybody knows I'm not accepting that. Yeah. That's not okay.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't take the risk to then start a big group confrontation if I didn't feel like if people had been drinking, I'll deal with that later. I feel comfortable to either have the conversation with that guy later or pick it up the next day and be like, hey, mate, I just want to chat about yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's an example of like where you feel like it might be a high risk environment.
Yeah.
I don't want people to be putting themselves at risk, but I also do want them to be courageous that women are at risk every day.
Yeah.
So if I see something actually happening in real time, I'm stepping in and you always have 000.
Yeah.
Like if it's an elevated crisis moment, you have the responsibility to make the call.
Yeah.
You have to. You got to do the best that you can for the people around you. If it's an elevated, heightened, high risk situation, you must immediately call 000. Yeah. If it's the slight misogyny, you've got to assess the risk to yourself and the others around you. But I'm calling it out.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. I love that. So there was something that you mentioned before around, you use this language around evolving and expanding masculinity and how, you talked a bit about hope as well. Now, you guys have worked with over 100,000 teenage boys, which is incredible. What conversations are they having with you in these safe spaces that you're creating?
Yeah, so let's be honest, teenage boys aren't coming in talking about masculinity. They're not like, we're here to learn masculinity.
Gender equality.
Yeah. That's not what they're coming in for. We are bringing the conversation to them. Yeah. And usually our sort of like, how do we get them enrolled into like why the man cave's there is usually through a bit of play and a bit of fun and some activity. But we get right into it. Like, what does it actually mean to be a young man? And ask them questions, usually like a bit of a whiteboard exercise. So we're asking them for themes, feelings, actions, behaviors, examples, so we can tease it out.
Yeah.
And then we talk about what sort of being a man, masculinity and manhood will mean, what it might have meant for their dads and former generations and what they hope it means for future generations. And what we will talk about is traditional masculinity is actually a really beautiful thing. You know, the leadership and courage and strength and provider and protector and all of these beautiful things.
Yeah.
When those things are used in isolation is when they become harmful. So what we want is a more expansive version moving forward where men can be all of those things plus. So expanding plus kind, compassionate, caring. We can set and respect boundaries. We understand consent. We understand healthy relationships, or we're working towards it. And then our facilitators will always share stories of their journey to show that it was not always perfect, but they're evolving and growing and learning and absorbing knowledge to be a better man or be a great man or be a good man, whatever's capable for them. So there's like what you've been told or seen about being masculine is some of it's really good and you can build on it, and there's other versions of it, but also there's an individual element to what it means to be a man. Some men express themselves in very different ways to other men. It's great for men to express themselves through their love of sport. It's also absolutely amazing to express yourself through your love of music, through your love of arts or crafts or Formula One or all of these hobbies and interests are expressions. They are not your masculine identity. A man does not have to be what we think it is that's advertised to us. You know, fit, 6 foot, looking amazing, drinking beers, living on the quarter-acre block with the big house and the big ute and the wife and the 2 kids. Like this shit that's been sold to you as like a norm, that doesn't have to be yours. The thing that I focus on a lot in our work is like if you actually unpack masculinity, it's just being a good human. Like,
well, it's interesting because as you were talking about like what you step the boys through, I'm like, oh, it just sounds like you're getting them to connect with what's their most authentic expression of themselves. I actually wanted to talk about, you know, there was something you were talking about, like just at a systemic level, the things that are changing and, you know, the government funding more things in this kind of space, which is really important. And I know there was a recent announcement by the Victorian government announcing the First Minister for Boys and Men, which is very exciting. I know you guys spoke about that on your socials. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I felt great because it was the first signal that a state government in Australia is taking the health and well-being of boys and men really seriously. So the federal government has a special envoy for men's health. Great. Dan Repicoli doing a great job. Like he's talking about checking your balls and going to the doctor and take care of your mates and good for mental health. Great start. But at a state level, the jurisdiction said, we need a plan for men and boys. Now, the bit that got lost in all of the announcement, and I was saying to our socials and content team, you have to make sure that we're talking about the fact that for the first time ever, there's also a minister for women and girls.
I saw
so there
that
was
too.
always a minister for women, but it never included girls. And I was like, so we not only was it a great announcement, we've got Paul Edbrook, so he's now Minister for Men and Boys, and then we've got Gabrielle, who's Minister for Women and Girls. And I was like, we're actually taking adolescence seriously. This is great. Now we've got a minister. I'm going to make sure that they actually design policy. It was like my first call. I was like, hey, congratulations.
Let's get to it.
Let's get going.
I love it. I know Clavicular, he has been hot off the press as well. And I think it's really interesting because there was that 60-minute interview where essentially the interviewer asked his associations to Andrew Tate and he just walked off. And I'm curious to know from the work that you do with teenage boys, since, you know, you guys know how to crack open the hearts of teenage boys, with that kind of behavior and reaction, like what's actually going on beneath the surface?
A very fragile, immature young man who got found out. Because, you know, live streaming, content creation, influencing online has some accountability and responsibility through the comments, but no one's actually face-to-face challenging you. And you chuck a seasoned investigative journalist, I think he was, in front of him, a couple of hard questions and it just breaks down.
Yeah.
That was
a lot of defensiveness as well. You could feel that.
Immediate defensive, because I'm not sure he believes what he's saying. You know, and if he does, it's cooked.
Yeah.
It's cooked no matter what, actually. Yeah. But I'm not quite sure that he believes in everything that he's saying, because I don't see a lot of conviction. In some areas I do. Yeah. Clavicular.
It's a tongue twister, isn't it?
Clavicular, because it comes from the clavicle, right?
Yeah, yeah,
the bones
I think it was something like that.
Whatever. Look, it's shit posting unhealed, traumatized teenage boys in men's bodies. Like, I'm just going to call it as it is. People can come for me. That's the truth.
Yeah.
What's been super disturbing is since then he's on live stream, has overdosed on drugs. And during him looking very unwell and quite clearly inebriated, the person sitting next to him, who was another looks-maxing influencer, who I think wears a wig, that dude, can't remember his name, but he was offering him an upper because he was, and I was like, that's not how you help your mate.
Wow.
You shut down the live stream and you call emergency services and help your mate.
Yeah, wow.
That being aired and exposed was super confronting. So many young men and young women watched that, but they were exposed. They have been exposed. That young man needs serious psychiatric intervention.
Yeah.
Right? Now, look, I'm not a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm just an old school youth worker from back in the day. But I've been around a lot.
I've been doing this work. Your perspective and wisdom on masculinity, Ben. But okay.
That kid needs psychiatric help. He needs it. That is not a fully formed human.
Yeah.
That is someone, I believe, who is experiencing a lot of pain and going on to perpetuate a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And he needs to be held to account, but he also needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
He needs a lot of support. He does not have the right people around him right now.
Yep. There's a lot there. We wish him well.
Yeah. Yeah. And also just like pull the plug on the account. Someone get him off.
Yeah.
Someone get him off. We just need to, someone said to me recently, this was great actually. I have to say, someone said to me, right, if AI gets really bad, right? If it gets really bad.
Yeah.
Why don't we just turn it off?
Well, speaking of solutions, because I know in terms of I would have had a lot of people tuning into this episode and they're probably thinking about, boys and men in their life, might be sons, friends, partners. And I guess the question I would have is what non-judgmental conversations can we be having with the boys and men in our lives to be better men?
I think staying curious. So what I found to work is arriving without a judgmental approach to a conversation and playing the long game. So not everything is going to be fixed immediately depending on the emotions and feelings that you have right now. Yeah. We're playing the long game. We're staying curious. We're asking questions. We're trying to figure out why there might be a certain attitude or behavior or norm that's settled in. I'm not talking about the harmful stuff that needs to be called out immediately and there needs to be accountability and consequences and action. I'm talking about in your sphere of influence, if you're seeing things pop up, there are so many resources out there that you can set yourself up with the right language. The one thing that I've always found particularly as a parent, is my kids really struggle when I'm looking at them like this.
Oh, yeah. It's
so
it's very confronting.
How many kids vape in your friendship circle?
Yeah,
my
totally.
kid's not going to be answering me. But if we're driving and they're on their L's, and I'm on the other side of the car and I'm like, okay, so we're going from 40 to 60. Yep, fantastic. Now, this area, take it really well. Yep. And we're not having to look at each other. Now's the time, a really good opportunity to be dropping some conversations in. I saw that. What happened with that clavicular? It's what was going on there?
Yeah.
Not what do you think of it? Do you follow him? Isn't this terrible? It's what's going on with that? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Being interested and curious, maybe not always when your kid's on their L's. I did it. They haven't crashed yet, touch wood. Also in cooking environments.
That's nice.
We might be
getting busy with their hands.
Exactly. Having the honest conversations.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good way of doing it. But I think also if you think that someone needs some additional help or seeking help, role modeling. Like a lot of men, the evidence is clear, don't go to the doctor, don't go to the therapist, don't go and get support, don't go and get help. It is on them. Individual accountability is super important. But being able to demonstrate and role model, like I talk a lot about being active in therapy, and I'm constantly talking about it with my kids, not the depth of what I talk about in my psychodynamic therapy, but that it's an investment in my self-care. And I want to role model to them that if they feel like they need additional assistance, that's something that we can access. I talk about it in my work. I'm talking about it now on this podcast, not as some martyr that I go to therapy. No, like I need proactive support. I have like a big life and a lot going on, and I need additional help. And that's why this guy went to university for like 100 years and practiced all this time to help me. He wants to help me. He's there to help me. So role modeling is another really important one. But the thing that I think we're losing a bit is storytelling.
Yeah, totally.
Sharing stories about a time that you struggled or a time that things have happened. Letting your kids or the people around you, your husband, the son, the nephew, whoever, letting them know that you're a human too. Like I remember when I was really sad. I remember when something really shitty happened to me. I remember when I got really angry and I was really embarrassed about it afterwards. So role modeling, storytelling and opening up that kind of vulnerability is a strength. And standing in that power of strength and being like, it's just because I'm vulnerable doesn't make me weak. Actually being vulnerable makes me stronger. And then giving examples of how and why.
Yeah, I love that. And some really practical ways that we can start these conversations. And I'm curious too, because I can imagine like if you're doing some of these strategies, like being curious, you're really not being judgmental at all, but you're still getting maybe defensiveness or just they're not giving you anything. Like what would you best advise in a situation like that?
Yeah, I think depending on the level of trust you have in the relationship, is being really honest. Like, I'm not getting anything from you right now. I've tried curious. I've tried non-judgmental. I've Googled this. I've tried to figure out a way to have a conversation. I just need to hit you with I'm really concerned about this behavior. I'm really concerned about this particular attitude. I'm really worried about what you said. And I'm going to need to set a really clear boundary that like this is actually not okay. Or you not, I'm feeling like you not being the best version of yourself is now impacting me. You know, you need to take some responsibility for that because I'm doing my best, but I need you to do your best. And if not, I'm going to have to set a really clear boundary that can't be crossed. So I think just honesty, it's like the elevation. So curious, non-judgmental, a little more stern, setting boundaries. And then we're talking about consequences and accountability. And that's where distance comes in. And his friend who was sitting right next to him as he's experiencing this offered him illicit prescription medication to help him in his situation. That's not going to help anyone.
Yeah, I think something that I really appreciated in this conversation is when we talk about gender, like it is really messy, you know, it's messy, it's confusing. And I think it's hard to have like a 3-step process towards gender equality because that is really challenging in the times we're living in. But what I love is that we're able to lean into these conversations and try to figure it out together.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And also like we're all learning. You don't have to be experts and you've created the space to be like, you know, what is it that you're actually trying to do? But also like happy to challenge me on that. Because that learning journey never stops.
Mamma Mia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land and waters on which this podcast was recorded.